Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. If South Africa's gold mining industry doesn't come up with a new way of mining, more than 1 billion ounces of gold will be left in the ground. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Can you tell us why is there such a vast amount of gold left unmined in the Wits Basin?
You know, since 1886 we've been mining this gold. We've mined 1.7 billion ounces. I mean, that is more than any other place in the world from one basin. And we now have a situation where about 200 million more ounces are possible to mine using the conventional method. But thereafter, it's a no-go because that's where their cutoff is. You find that your losses just increase, you know, as you go deeper. They were showing us graphically how you actually lose the gold on the transport, how you lose the gold through the blasting technique, how it gets caught in all the cracks. And the more of those are on the way, you know, the more you lose. The greater the distance, the more you lose. The greater the distance, the more time it takes for people to get down there, the less work you do. So you get to a cutoff and you say it's uneconomical to go beyond this point. And they are foreseeing that now. Once these reserves, 200 million ounces of reserve are taken up, the rest is just a resource. It's there, but there's nothing you can do about it unless you can mine it economically. And they're saying, you know, like $1 trillion worth is going to be left in the ground. And that's at today's gold price, which isn't the best we've had. So one can imagine that in the years to come, you know, that gold price will go up, particularly if the supply dwindles. But you can't take a risk because we're reaching a plateau on the safety side, and you just cannot continue to kill people and injure them. So you've got to come up with a new method. And of course, you know, the legislation in South Africa is use or lose. So of course, these mines have to make sure that they get a way of getting to that. Otherwise, it'll be a point of someone saying, you know, let someone else try and do it. So they're going all out with new methods now, and the reef boring is the one that they're looking at, where you actually bore out the reef. You don't use drill and blast. You bore into the reef with a reverse circulating process, and you know, you extract that gold, only the gold. That's what they're going for, and they do it safely with very few people in the vulnerable areas and in an automated process.
Now, as you've mentioned, more than $1 trillion worth of gold has been left unmined, and this will continue if we don't find new methods. What other methods are they using, as you mentioned, with the reef boring? Yes,
you know, there's one shouldn't be ideological about the method they use, but this is the method they're trying out, and it seems to be the most logical one to go for at the moment, because the drill and blast is just going to be no-go because it adds to the seismicity as you blast. That creates safety issues. The cracks and the crevices that it creates along the way, you know, you lose your gold as you're trying to get it out. The deeper you go, the more transport there is, the less you're going to get out. So we're reaching a point where there's a danger that we're going to leave, you know, 1 billion ounces of gold under there, which could be very valuable to us. But there's no moral imperative to go and get it if it's going to kill people. You know, you've got to come up with a new method. And at the same time, there are still near wins, because there are pillars that they can use this on, very rich pillars, high-grade pillars. So what they've spent on the research and development here is going to be minuscule, because they're going to get it back at least on these pillars. They already started mining them, and they already, I think they've got 2,000 ounces of very high-grade gold out of that. So these pillars, shaft pillars, are left for safety reasons. So you don't mine around the shaft because you need that rock to remain in place. But with this method of boring, Mother Nature doesn't know that you've taken the gold out because you've bored it out, and then you fill it with a backfill very quickly, and it's a high-strength backfill. So that then creates the strength again. So you can remove the gold and strengthen the pillar so that it stands up. You can do the skin to skin as long as you're backfilling all the time. So I think if the worst comes to the worst, you're going to be able to get that resource, which in some parts of the world, you know, would be a complete wonderful mine on its own. our pillars, and then also the pillars that have been left along the way for safety because of the mining method we've used. We can go back and do that. But what is really envisaged is that we need to start going to the ultra deeps, and we need a system like this, and it's this raise boring method which has shown most promise so far. But you can't just say you can take it into the mines, because that's not quite ready yet.
And this is, of course, the Anglo-Gold Ashanti technology.
This is Anglo-Gold Ashanti technology. They've been very open about it, and they've said we call it South African technology because it's got a safety aspect, and we all cooperate on safety. The number one thing we want to do is to mine safely all the gold, only the gold, all the time. And because safety is at the top, this is open to everyone. As it develops, though, you might find that parts of the technology they want to keep for themselves. I hope not. But one gets the idea that, you are building up sort of an advantage over a possible advantage of your peers. You might want to not just impart everything to them, but we'll see how it pans out.
Perhaps it can be a case of generic material.
Generic material and a generic South African technology, and they have been, very generous in that way up to now, because everyone cooperates on safety here, and so the primary aspect of this is to be safe, and therefore they've got to put their money where their mouth is and say, look, we will let this go out to those who want to use it. And fortunately, the developers of it are local. Local companies. Atlantis, one of the companies, has got involved. But it comes against the background of some of the biggest names in technology in the world being involved here in the early stages. So it's all helped because they're peripheral technologies. You get the main boring technologies, about 4 big pieces of it. But there are a lot of peripheral technologies that they're introducing, because your geology is going to have to be far slicker and far quicker. So you also have to take that into account. You can't just have this automated process coming along if your geology is skewed and it doesn't tell you in full detail, where all that gold is. And so there are a lot of implications as you go about changing the method. But it's something we've got to do in South Africa, otherwise we're going to leave behind a huge national patrimony. This belongs to the state. They should be actually talking about this at cabinet level. How are we going to get to this? I think there should be presentations at high government level, so that there could be a meeting of the minds. There could be more collaboration. There needs to be far more collaboration, far more urgency, because this is going to have a tremendous wealth creation potential. Because if they get it right, it's something like gold on tap. It's like turning on the tap and letting the gold flow. And if they can get it to that point, in the same way as people, suck oil and gas out of oil wells and deep level oil wells, if they can do the same thing here with the hard rock, and there are some technologies that give you an idea that it can be done, it will be a massive benefit to South Africa. And I think more collaboration and more government, business, labour, civil society activity needs to come behind this and really push it. At the moment, you've got the team at Anglo-Gold Ashanti really enthusiastic and working flat out. I mean, they're so convinced about this, I'm sure they bet their own houses on it. They bet their farm. They really believe they're going to come through with this. And it's not only going to be for South Africa, it's going to be for the world. Because wherever you mine, you're going deeper. You might be open cast now, but tomorrow you're underground. And if this can be migrated, and perfected, we're the ones to do it, because we've gone so deep. And then we could spread it around the world. So you can see a tremendous enthusiasm among the people doing it. And the one who's leading at the moment is the Senior Vice President of Technology and Projects, Sean Newberry, who, gave me a presentation which was very impressive this week, with a lot of graphics and a lot of visual impact of, how small that reef is in the big picture and how much you lose, along the way with this current method. This is national patrimony. We shouldn't be allowing people to lose this. And we've been very wasteful in the way we've mined. We've done a good job because, we've really, we've got to 1.7 billion ounces, which is a heck of a lot from 1886. But we've reached a point now where, when we look back, we could have done much better. We could have left far less gold in the ground. Our mine call factor, as they call it, matching what's in the ground with what you get out, finally that gold, there's a big mismatch. We're leaving behind a lot.
Yeah.
So we're actually duty bound. If we want to continue with this gold industry, we should do it properly. And huge collaboration should result from this. AngloGold Ashanti is given this positive lead. People should follow.
What are some of the other factors threatening sustainability of the gold mining? in
Yeah,
South
it's this question of the few days that we work. The current way of mining, firstly, we need to improve what they call the mine call factor. Getting what's in the ground into gold bar. We need to do that and not leave so much behind. So the efficiency needs to improve. And, that means that we're not utilizing our assets properly. There's a low utilization. And mining also takes place only 270 days out of 365. Wow. So, we only, and then when we take so long as the mines get deeper, your travel time of the people that are doing the manual drilling and blasting takes so long to get out there, and then they've got to get out because they can't be there while the blasting takes place, that there's less and less time at the rock face. Yeah. Less and less and less. So it's making it less sustainable all the time. You have to. We used the word absolute in the headline, and we meant it. It's an absolute change that's needed. We can't go along the way we've been doing it for 128 years. It's got to be different, and it's got to be absolutely different, because it's also got to be very safe.
Yeah, unless they build hotels down there and people can stay.
Well, there was a time when they said that, they'd have troglodyte miners, that you keep them living under there.
Which is just cruel.
I mean, it's grotesque.
Yeah.
So
what are they, moles?
Yeah, so that was just a thought, I think, that flashed past people's minds because of the travel time. And they thought, well, let's give them luxury hotels under there so that they can get
Never
to
see
work.
Sunlight.
Get to work early and come up, every 10 days or the 11-week fortnight that we work. But that troglodytic scenario, I don't think it's on.
No, it's
we
not
really
sustainable.
Have to do not sustainable and not very pleasant to think about. And so hopefully we'll have an automated process that takes us into the 21st century and beyond, and takes the people out of the danger area and keeps them controlling it and doing all the transport and horizontal transport, vertical transport, and the processing. Get people involved in that. High-skilled people, running the whole show. And that fits in with, union demands for more and more pay. It's going to take a bit of time to get in, so conventional areas are still going to be mined in the conventional way for some time. But I think that we do need a wake-up call. We cannot just kill people the way we're doing it. It's why mine gold then? If you're going to kill people, you can get gold from elsewhere in the world. Why carry on here? Just because someone wants a gold bracelet? I mean, it's bizarre. So it's got to be done safely, it's got to be done properly, and people need to put their weight behind this, including government. The government needs this gold to go out, to get our balance of payments right. And so they should also be considering what they can contribute to this national patrimony.
Thank you very much, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.